Hello everybody and welcome to the video. I'm going to go over my favorite and least favorite thing about each tank hero in Overwatch. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. So beginning our list is going to be D.va. My least favorite thing about D.va by far just has to be her gameplay. I don't know why, I just find her so boring even though she has that mobility. And I love mobility. For some reason I just don't feel like it doesn't feel good to me. I can't really explain it any better than that. My favorite thing about D.va would have to either be her ultimate or defense matrix, just because her ultimate is very good and very high damage, very good at zoning, but her DM also is very good because it eats most projectiles from most heroes aside from beams, which only include Mauga, Mei, Ramattra, and Zarya, and then Echo's focusing beam, but that's not primary, so you know. But yeah, those are my favorite and least favorite things about D.va. Next up is Doomfist, by far one of my favorite tanks. My favorite thing about Doomfist would have to be his hyper mobility, just by far, because it's so freeing and so fun to get in and out of the battlefield across the map within seconds. Like, I'm pretty sure on most push maps you could get across the map in under a minute easily, probably even under 30 seconds if you do your cooldowns correctly. My least favorite thing about Doomfist would have to be his lack of counterplay to CC. While you have your block, that is only reducing damage, not CC, and so I just think that CC is his hard counter, which it is, and it should be, but it's just unfortunate that he doesn't have any counterplay outside of being mobile and just hoping that the enemy isn't like a god at hitting their shots, right? Because once you use your punch, once you use your slam, unless you use another ability, you're pretty predictable in your path. And that was my favorite and least favorite thing about Doomfist. I haven't gotten a lot of time on Hazard since he's been released, and the playtest, but here are my thoughts. My least favorite thing about Hazard would have to be the clunkiness of his leap. I get that giving another character a leap, you do need to make it feel a lot different. It's just Winston and Doomfist leap feels so good, so it's very strange to feel the Hazard leap be so slow and not very high up when it comes to like distance. It's just weird to feel. And my favorite thing about him would probably be the fact that it's another dive-ish tank. I love the wall climb. I love being able to like jump, wall, climb onto my wall, jump again, wall climb again. Because if you didn't know, when you use an ability like leap, you can reset your wall climb. And that is my favorite and least favorite thing about Hazard. Next is Junkerqueen. My least favorite thing about Junkerqueen would have to be lack of mobility. The only mobility she gets is her shout, but only a slight movement boost, and then her ultimate. But aside from that, she's very non-mobile, like when it comes to just speed, which isn't my most favorite thing. However, my most favorite thing about her is her gameplay loop. I feel like for a gameplay loop that's pretty self-explanatory, which is damage to heal, it's just so fun on Queen. She just feels so good when you do it right, and then when you do it wrong, usually, unless it's due to a bunch of CC or damage all at once, it feels very fair that you died, rather than other heroes where it feels a little unfair that you died all of a sudden. On Queen, it's like, okay, I messed up, that's why I died. And that's my favorite and least favorite thing about Queen. Next up is Mauga. My most favorite thing about Mauga would either be the way his charge feels or his ultimate. His ultimate, because it's just a very good ultimate. It's a very good zoning tool. Like, you can zone off a whole choke if they just don't want to go into the cage, or if they do, it's like, okay, cool. My team has a shield, only I gotta deal with this. And then for his charge makes you feel, as the effect you get when using it, it makes you feel unstoppable. Every time you slam onto a target and kill them with a critical, it just feels so good. Now, obviously it's not fun for them, but hey, that's not my problem. My least favorite thing about Mauga, however, is also the fact that you feel unstoppable at times. Because on the other team's side, it's like nothing can stop this guy. He's just too good, right? Because if you're just burning through them, slamming onto them, it's like just so unfun for them. While obviously that doesn't affect my gameplay, I just don't like that in concept. And that is my favorite and least favorite thing about Mauga. Now it's time for Orisa. My favorite thing about Orisa would once again be the unstoppable nature. However, I do think Orisa is a more fair unstoppability when it comes to Mauga or Orisa, because they are very hot topics. But I think Orisa is like, you have to cycle the cooldowns, and on Mauga, if you don't cycle cooldowns correctly, you die immediately, right? But see, it's harder to cycle cooldowns than him. It's easier to cycle cooldowns on her just because her cooldowns are much closer together. My least favorite thing about Orisa would probably be, once again, the unstoppability factor. While it's fun for me, it's not fun for other people, and I get why people don't like her, but I do think sometimes Orisa won't even be that good or won't even be an issue, and people will still complain. But that is my favorite and least favorite thing about Orisa. It's time you suffer as I have, as we're talking about Ramattra. My favorite thing about Ramattra by far would be his gameplay feel similar to Queen, except he does not have self-sustain. The thing I like about his gameplay is you can go from poking to brawling, and he's very good at poke if the target sits still, but otherwise he's still good for like just spamming a corner, because then if they don't expect it to turn the corner, you could theoretically obliterate them. Same with the punches. The punches, you can just go in their face like a Reinhardt. I love it. It's so fun. My least favorite thing about Ramattra would likely have to be the fact that he is just always really good against like characters like Ryan or Sig. Just shield-oriented tanks suffer against him. And while Reinhardt is the main offender, I think that it's just a little unfun to do that. I can do it on Ryan, but that's for the Reinhardt segment, which, speaking of, for some honor and glory, my favorite thing about Reinhardt would have to be his shield. Now, I do like his charge, but I think his shield is my favorite thing about him. It's just, his shield is so diverse and it's so simple. If you think about it really, right, you can charge straight into the shield. You can shield, fire strike, shield, so you take minimal damage. You can shield block many ultimates. It's just a very good thing that's very simple, and it's a little harder than it looks. Obviously, it's really easy, but still. My least favorite thing about Reinhardt would have to be his lack of vertical mobility. While he has the mobility horizontally, which makes him feel good for me, I do understand why he doesn't have any vertical mobility, but I also still don't like it, just because I used to play Lucio a lot, so vertical mobility is kind of my thing. It's time to burn brighter than a supernova and hear that melody as we're talking about Sigma. My favorite thing about Sigma is that he's a very diverse tank and very self-sufficient, but he's not fully self-sufficient. My least favorite thing about Sigma would have to be probably his ultimate. Now, everything about Sigma is just good. It's very good, well-rounded. But my least favorite thing would be his ultimate, just because people will like hold Lucio B until the Sigma ults, and it just does not feel good. Now, obviously, that is a Lucio problem, not a Sigma problem. However, I still think it's dumb that Lucio can do that, but I understand why. Now let's talk about our piggy pal. My favorite thing about Roadhog is a toss-up between his healing, take a breather, and his hook. Hook feels very good on your side just because you can hook them off the map, you can hook them one shot, but that's not for most characters. You'll have to pigpen, wait a second, one shot. But still, it feels very good, very nice. His take a breather also is very good just because tank self-sustain is very nice to have, especially if you can be self-sufficient on Roadhog on a minor flank before the team fight, And then my least favorite thing about Roadhog would have to be both those things I just listed, just on the receiving end. Like Mauga, like Orisa, it doesn't feel good to be one-shot by a hog. It doesn't feel good for this or that, but at least Roadhog requires hook to one-shot you and be unstoppable, basically. And so, at least I feel like it does have counterplayability by either waiting out the hook or having somebody get hooked and then everybody else just jump on him at once. It's just one of those things where it's a lot of timing, a lot of positioning, and you just need to get used to it. Now let's talk about the scientist of the group, Winston. My favorite thing about Winston would have to be his mobility and his well-roundedness. I just think it is so fun and so good when you jump on a target and you don't even kill them, but you get them off your teammate or something. It just feels nice. My least favorite thing about Winston would have to be the fact that his shield sometimes just feels like it explodes in -2 seconds, It's just like instant. I know that didn't make sense, but be quiet. It just feels really quickly that it burns sometimes, or really slow. It's a very weird thing about Winston's bubble where it just feels very slow or very fast at times. Now let's talk about the professional Russian bodybuilder Zarya. My favorite thing about Zarya would by far have to be Graviton Surge, just because it combos with many ultimates and abilities so well, and I just feel like it's so effective. Plus, it's just good for keeping people off the cart, on the cart, etc. And then my least favorite thing about Zarya would have to be, once again, mobility. Lack of mobility. I don't like it. I understand why she has no mobility aside from her tech thing where you shoot yourself on the ground, but I think it wouldn't hurt to give herself on like a self bubble, like a 5%, 10% increase of movement speed, just a little something. It wouldn't. I don't think 10% would be game breaking. If it was, just lower it to like 8%, whatever feels good. I just want a little bit of Zarya mobility, but that's gonna end our Zarya segment. Last but certainly not least is Hamster. I love Wrecking Ball. My favorite thing about Wrecking Ball by far has to be his mobility. I just love it. It's so fun. It's so good. He's like Doomfist but on crack. It's just so nice. He moves around so quickly if you get used to it. He has a down slam, which is good for canceling all mobility as well as diving onto targets. And then my least favorite thing about him would once again have to be counterplay as CC. It's unfortunate, but it is a necessary weakness like Doomfist to have no counterplay to CC. However, I do think that something like Adaptive Shields should give him like a minor reduction to CC. And basically, I just mean like duration, except sleep. Sleep duration being at what it is for all tanks is good. I think it should stay consistent if there's going to be a difference. But with that concludes this video. I know this was a quick one and I was talking really fast the whole time, but I just wanted to get something out there because I'm going to work on something bigger for a while and I just need time. So like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.